Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to just talk to you about my $350 woodshed that I built pretty much mostly out of junk besides a few things I did have to buy. The thing was built for dirt cheap. It's a 6x10 built mostly out of scrap metal. I built it originally just as a storage shed to store some of my things while I was living at my parents' house while I was finishing my last my last two semesters of college while I had no income because I had to essentially work full-time for free every day. I'm just going to go over some of the materials that I built it with real quick. This is like a piece of 1/8" flat bar that I welded to it, so I had something to screw this sheet metal to on the side. I would like to add a couple more pieces to it over time. Eventually it'll require some work to go in there and grind off the paint, but that's fine. This is some little bit thicker 1/8" pipe, and it's actually all metric stuff because it came out of a Dutch built greenhouse. But anyway, it's a little bit thicker than 1/8" pipe, probably about 1.5 inches, 2 inches around. And then it goes down to some 1/4 inch thick angle iron that it's all welded to all the way and up and around the top of the framing. So then on the top of the framing, I just took some brackets, some U brackets, and I welded it to the top of the angle iron, and then I put 2x4s in. I put bolts in through the brackets and the 2x4s, and so that's what's holding on these little trusses I built. I also would like to get more wood to screw the roofing to, as it does flop in the wind a little bit. There's a good example right there. All the sheet metal was essentially free. I did end up just giving my brother 20 bucks for the sheet metal that goes around the woodshed. He was going to take it and scrap it, so I felt like it was fair as I made some use of it. But anyway, it just goes to one of those little cheap sheds that you put together with like 3,000 screws. You can see some of them going across right here, every couple of ribs. So it was built out of one of those cheap sheds, or at least the sheet metal came from one of those cheap sheds. And then everything was just self-tap screwed into the pipe, flat bar, and angle iron that the frame is built from. Just under the roof here alone, I figure I can hold roughly about a cord, because it is about 6 feet wide. And then if it's 10, I think I cut off 3 feet over there, so it's like 7. But I can stack it about 7 or 8 feet tall in there. So if I really wanted to stuff it full, I could get not quite, but nearly a cord in it. The reason for it is just to keep all my firewood dry. Like today, we're kind of having a little bit of a rainy day. The idea is that we're just gonna keep this all in here and keep a good amount of firewood dry. I do live on the Colorado Plateau in northern Arizona, and we do get plenty cold here and do get a little bit of snow as well. And the snow tends to not stick around long though. We do warm up pretty much every day above freezing, and so the snow does melt off pretty quick, and it just soaks our firewood. It does dry out fairly fast too if we can go a few days or weeks without snow from the firewood. But those few days when the snow melts, the firewood is just soaked, and so this is going to work really well for keeping us warm inside the house with dry firewood. I took this hay pallet and I just stuffed it inside of here because it fit pretty nice and well, and that's what all the firewood sits on, and then it just leans up against the sheet metal and the shed, which is why this shed needs a little bit more reinforcements, because it is pushing a little bit hard on some of that sheet metal. And in case I wasn't clear, the only thing I really spent money on was the paint, the 2x4s for the trusses, and the roofing, obviously the lights and things, the little solar powered lights, and the self-tapping screws, and really that was about it. I also just remembered the concrete pad here cost me about $100 to pour. One thing I'd really like to change on this thing is just that door. The door is just built out of some flat bar, all welded together, some weld-on hinges, and just the sheet metal junk it's built out of. I'd like to get a real door, have a nice little door handle, and something that functions and works just a little bit better than that junky door. These two bolts have places where I can run a lock through if I wanted to, and I can lock this shed up. It is a functioning door. It's just not very nice. All right, so here's a view from the side. I'll just go ahead and show you inside. Here's this angle iron bottom framing that I put in here. I just put anchor bolts down in. So here's that solar powered light. We'll turn it on so hopefully we can see in here. And then obviously very teeny tiny little room with plenty of light coming through. Essentially, this is just where I keep my wood tools. I figured it'd be nice to kind of keep them all together. I don't know if this is permanently where I'm going to keep them. These chainsaws do stay nice and out of the weather and everything. And I've not noticed any issues. Like I said, plenty of light coming in. Sure, dust gets in here and everything, but they stay out of the sun, they stay out of the rain, they stay out of the wind, and they save me a little space in my tiny little shed before I can get a real much bigger shop built. I just keep some shelves in here. Obviously, there's my splitting maul. just a cheap shelf from Harbor Freight. Toolbox that I keep all my spare chains, I don't know, oil, gloves, all the things that I use. Keep the chainsaws going and protect ourselves when we go out cutting wood. I made a little chain case there, my laundry detergent chainsaw fuel. It's redneck as heck, but it works nicely. I don't typically use this Moto Mix. I definitely mix my own fuel, but I got like some extended warranties just for picking it up, and generally what I use this for is just to store the saws. I'll put this fuel in because I live so far away from an ethanol-free fuel station nowadays that it's hard to get ethanol-free fuel in these things. So I'll run ethanol gas through them, and then I'll just store them with the Moto Mix in it to keep them from corroding and ruining my parts. We have the MS251, MS180, MS170, and then the Husqvarna 440. All very nice saws. Love having them. Very much built out of junk, but I like it. Glad to have it. Does really well. I do like the little room. I think the little room was worth putting on. So just in summary, I'm definitely enjoying having the woodshed. It was very, very cheap to build. Like I said, under 350 bucks for a 60 square foot structure, built mostly out of junk. For it to even cost 350 bucks just for the pad, the paint, the 2x4s, and the roofing. That's a lot of money, man. To have built this out of all brand new material easily would have cost over $1,000. My chicken coop that was built even less, quite a bit less out of junk, but still maybe 25 to 50% out of garbage, still cost me almost $1,000 to build. So nothing gets built cheap these days. But like I said, I'm really enjoying the woodshed. Very nice to have, keeps the wood dry for us through the winter. Nice little outbuilding here on our tiny little homestead. Thanks everybody for watching. Make sure you give it a thumbs up if you liked the video, and make sure you subscribe if you're not a subscriber. We'll see you in the next one.